Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Amparucci and today I'm going to show you guys how to make this super cool Kirby cake. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and also click down below and subscribe to my channel. To get started, I have a few Rice Krispie treats and we're going to be making Kirby out of this. So I'm going to form them into a ball that's about 3 inches in diameter. And then I'm going to create 2 smaller balls for Kirby's arms. Then I'm going to ice this with some buttercream to give it a smooth surface and so that when we add the fondant over it, it has something to stick onto. I have some light pink fondant and I'm going to cover the entire Kirby that I made with this. I made Kirby's little feet using some red fondant, and what I did was I attached 2 toothpicks to each side of where the shoes are going to be on the bottom of Kirby, and then I'm going to add some melted white chocolate onto this, and this is going to act as a glue to attach the toothpicks to Kirby's feet. And I let this set, and as you can see now Kirby can stand on its 2 feet all on its own. Now we're going to make Kirby's facial features. So I have some black fondant here for the mouth and I'm just rolling out a really thin oval shape. Using some red fondant, I roll out a small half oval shape and I add that in the center of the black oval. And this makes Kirby's mouth. Before I do anything else, I'm adding a sharpened wooden dowel through the center of the top of Kirby's head. And I'm going to make sure that it comes out through the bottom part, because this is going to be used as a support to help the Kirby stick onto the top of the cake. Using some more black fondant, I am freeforming 2 ovals for Kirby's eyes. I'm going to use a ballpoint fondant tool to flatten these out a little more. Then I trim off the top part of each eye, and it doesn't matter if it's flat on top because half of Kirby's eye is going to be covered with the hat that we're going to add on him. And here I have some small blue fondant balls, and I'm going to add these onto the center of the black part. These are going to be Kirby's pupils, and again using my ballpoint tool I'm going to flatten these out. And I add a white fondant ball on top of this, and this is going to be that kind of sparkle effect that Kirby's eyes have and gives it that cartoon effect. And I place these onto Kirby's face. And using a small amount of pink gel food color that I've diluted with water, I'm going to add the little rosy cheeks that Kirby has. For the cakes, I have baked 2 10-inch vanilla cakes and 2 6-inch vanilla cakes. I cut my 10-inch vanilla cakes in half, leveled them, and I'm filling them with some vanilla buttercream, stacking one cake layer on top of the other, and giving it a crumb coat of buttercream. Now I'm going to add the supports that are going to support the 6-inch cake layer that we're going to add on top of this 10-inch cake layer. So what I'm using is some bubble tea straws, and these are way better than dowels. I would absolutely recommend to use these. They're much easier to cut and they make great supports. So I'm adding a few of these towards the back and center of the cake because the 6-inch cake that we're going to add on top is going to be off-centered. It's not going to be directly in the center. Now I'm going to fill and stack my 6-inch vanilla cake layers. And I'm going to give this a crumb coat, let it chill, and give it a second coat of vanilla buttercream. For the bottom cake layer, which is the 10-inch cake, I am using some mint green fondant. So I'm just rolling that out and I'm going to cover the cake with this fondant. And I use my hands and a fondant smoother to help smooth the fondant on top and on the sides of the cake. And I trim off the excess fondant around the bottom of the cake using my X-Acto knife. For the top cake layer, which is the 6-inch cake, I'm using a royal blue fondant and I'm going to repeat the same steps. I'm going to roll it over the cake, smooth it out, and cut off the excess fondant around the bottom of the cake. To add the 6-inch cake layer on top of the 10-inch cake layer, I am going to use a bubble tea straw to help keep them both together. So I'm just cutting that to size. And again, this is going to be off-centered since the cake is going to be off-centered. And then the cake board under this cake has a nice hole for the bubble tea straw to fit perfectly and help support and keep both layers together. The top cake layer, which is the royal blue cake layer, is going to be King Dedede, which is one of the characters from Kirby. So what I'm going to do is make the little crown that he wears. And what I have here is an 8-inch round cake board, which is 2 inches bigger than our 6-inch cake. And I'm just using my X-Acto knife to trace this circle over some red fondant because the king's crown is red. So I'm going to place this on top of the blue fondant. And using my X-Acto knife, I'm going to trim that off so that it is about an inch in length all around the cake. Now using some more bubble tea straws, I'm going to add 2 supports on top of the cake to help support the Kirby that we're going to be adding on top of this layer. And the wooden dowel that we stuck through Kirby, it fits perfectly inside of the bubble tea straw. Now to finish King Dedede, I have some yellow fondant here to make the beak. And I'm just going to freeform the beak shape. And I'm going to add the beak in the center in between both cakes. That's why I off-centered the top cake layer so that we have room for the beak. And I have 2 white fondant circles, which are going to be the eyeballs, and I'm just going to flatten these out and place these over the beak. And I'm going to cut out 2 black circles to be the pupils. I'm using an icing tip to do this, and then I'm just going to flatten them out a little more to be more oval instead of round. And I place these in the center of the white eyeball part. And again, I'm going to add the white spots to give that shiny cartoon eye effect. Using the same royal blue fondant that I used to cover the cake in, I'm going to roll out 2 small tubes and we're going to make King Dedede's eyelids off of this. And I'm going to shape them to make them look a cross between bored and angry. And I'm going to roll out a thin tube of yellow fondant, and this is going to be the border around the bottom of the crown. Using the yellow fondant, I've also cut out an oval shape, and that's going to be the center part of the crown. Using white fondant, I'm rolling out a thin tube, and I'm going to place this around the bottom part of King Dedede's head, and that's just the white fur trim that he has on the coat that he wears. Now I'm going to finish Kirby off by adding a hat. So what I have here is some green fondant that I've just shaped into a cone shape, and I am just smoothing it out. I'm going to place this right on Kirby's head. And then using yellow fondant, I'm going to add the yellow trim at the bottom of the hat. Using a small star-shaped cutter, I'm going to cut out some star shapes with some white fondant. I'm adding 1 star at the front center part of Kirby's hat and 1 star hanging from the back of his hat. Now I'm going to make Kirby's sword using some royal blue fondant and a toothpick. So I'm going to cover half of the sword using the blue fondant. I'm going to leave the top part exposed and the bottom part exposed because the bottom part of the toothpick is going to stick through Kirby's hand for support. And I just used some white fondant that I'm shaping into the sword shape to make the sharp part of the sword. And I'm just going to paint that using some silver luster dust. I added the pointy part of the toothpick, which I dipped in melted white chocolate to help it stick onto Kirby's arm. And I've just added 2 small circles on either side of Kirby's hat. To make the little crystals that stick out the sides of Kirby's hat, I'm using some melted white chocolate, which I've let set, and I'm going to cut and shape them into crystal shapes and stick these through the sides of Kirby's hat. Using this tile cutter, and I've used this before on my Minecraft cake, and it just speeds up the process. Super easy to use and convenient for cutting out multiple tiles. I'm using this to cut out some blue and yellow tiles that I'm going to be adding around the bottom layer of the cake. So I'm going to start by adding these as a border for the bottom layer of the cake. And I'm going to do a pattern doing blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. Then when I get to the sides of the cake, I'm going to do kind of like a staircase tile effect. And this super cool Kirby cake is complete. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, leave comments below as to what other cake ideas you guys would like to watch me cake. Bye-bye!